Hi there. I was thinking of joining the virtual world called Second Life by Linden Labs, which has been going since around about 2000 and, well, sometime in the noughties anyway. And there is, in fact, a beautiful Gnostic temple of the Rosy Cross, which has been made exclusively for Second Life, which I was very interested to find out about. Would of course mean joining Second Life, but I mean you don't have to pay. You can just join as a free member. But I don't know. There's always something. Every time I've watched other people uh, go on this virtual world, you can't call it a game. That's sacrosanct to call it that, because there's games within Second Life, and they are games. But Second Life is a virtual world and not a game. Okay, but there's always something holding me back somehow. There's something kind of peculiar about virtual worlds. Something I don't know how to describe it. Hollow, lacking in substance. Um, Something superficial, but that's not the word either. I mean, hollow is the best thing the best word that I can come up with. Um, it's not, yeah, superficial would be the wrong word because there's plenty there of great depth and artistic beauty and interest, educational interest, for example, or at least on Second Life anyway. So, I mean, it's certainly not superficial, it's certainly not lacking, it's certainly not shallow. As I say, some very deep things up there, and of course, once you've learnt to build the worlds and to res, you can create things of quite a lot of depth. And yet, there's always something hollow about everything there. The avatars, the sets, the landscapes, the items. I mean, obviously, we're talking about pixel, okay, pixel art. So if you see a ship, it's not a real ship. If you see the sea, not the real ocean. I know that. you know, I'm not, I'm not that stupid. And I know it's a representation, obviously. Like all computer games, for example, you have a representation. Although obviously graphics are getting so good now on computer games, it's hard to tell where reality ends and where the game begins often. And the graphics, of course, on Second Life have been improved time and time again, especially the avatars. So it's very, I mean, they look very realistic, very lifelike now, and on computer games even more so. So when I say hollow, yes, I mean that is the word I mean because there's a certain hollowness, a hollow quality to everything that you see. It's not even like well, you could say, well, a piece of art, modern or classical art is hollow because it's just a representation, right? No matter how realistic it looks, or obviously a photograph, that's just a representation. I mean, the camera never lies, right? But I mean, it does. And yet, pictures, photographs, paintings, sculpture, all that visual arts, they sort of have a fullness about them. Admittedly, obviously, not as much a fullness as real objects in quotation marks, but they don't have this funny hollow quality about them. And I suppose sometimes it's because when you go on places in virtual worlds, there's not many people there. It's not populated very heavily with avatars and with users. So it can feel a bit spooky because you can go to a city and you might be the only person walking down the street in the middle of the day, which is a bit spooky, a bit apocalyptic. And I mean, that's not Second Life's fault. That's just the fact that people don't go to certain places at certain times, or because people are in Australia or New Zealand or Russia or the USA, different time zones, and people can't be all can't be on Second Life all 24 hours a day. So, it's all about chance, whether you're going to meet up with people from different countries or even from the same country, and unless they're friends and you all go together somewhere. But then, so that there's bound to be a bit of spooky kind of feeling that no one's around, you're in the middle of a playground, a fairground, and there's nobody there, which would be really spooky because, that doesn't seem natural. So apart from things like, it doesn't feel natural or whatever, there is this peculiar hollowness, even when there's lots of people. And I've seen people, with lots of avatars, going to a rock concert or a festival or something like that, or a big, or an event, a shopping event, and it still has this quality of hollowness around. But then I was thinking to myself, I suppose, once you get used to it, like everything, you probably don't notice the hollowness. The avatar becomes you, and you become the avatar, and everything around the avatar becomes feels as if it is as real as real life, kind of thing. So what is it? Is it this virtual world that's fake, in quotation marks, or is it this world that is fake, or are they both fake, or are they both real? I suppose they're both real to the perceiver. This world is real to us, in the sense that we perceive something there, and we close up the dots, and we furnish, our imaginations often complete the picture of real life. So it could be that, in a sense, everything is fake, which is the principle of Maya, or illusory matter, or they could all both be real, and it might not be. It might be disingenuous, really, to talk about Second Life being fake, or false, because you could say that of real life as well, or this first life. But so I was thinking that perhaps, in fact, actually, to extend, to think in a metaphysical way, it could be that both worlds, this first world and the second life, are fake, are superficial. If you like, they're just pixels, and it is just neurotransmitters being stimulated by something in the brain, that records the data, and we make some sense of it, and we find meaning out of it. And I mean, all this is being well covered by other people who've described it much better than I've described it. But I was thinking, maybe it's kind of like, you get reality, sort of like reality in quotation marks, kind of stretched over a kind of framework. And I was wondering, what would be real? Well, if you look at Second Life, I mean, the only things that are actually real, in quotation marks, are the people, the users of Second Life. They're real. I mean, they because they've got a sophisticated way of stopping bots and robots and things from inhabiting Second Life, or at least I think they have anyway. So you're pretty certain that the people, behind the avatar, are basically real human beings, with real feelings and aspirations, and ability to love and to hate and to be jealous and be accepting and be kindly, etc., etc. So in that sense, what is real about Second Life is the people that use Second Life, for whatever they do use Second Life for. And I mean, there's about as many ways of using Second Life as there are users on Second Life, pretty much anyway. Although most people seem to be kind of pretty obsessed with shopping in one form or another. But anyway, but even within shopping, there's people that do different types of shopping and shop for different things like they do in real life, But what seems real, or most real, are the people that use the actual network, the actual service, and they message each other and they become friends, and they go out together, they go to clubs together, they go shopping together. And sometimes they also, unfortunately, fall out and become enemies. So what is actually real? So you could say that what is real about this, about first life, about reality, is in fact the people that are using this network of atoms and electrons and photons and things that we experience. That actually what is real, perhaps, is our thoughts, but we know that our thoughts are not real. So is it that there is something else, like a sort of I am consciousness, which is thinking and perceiving and experiencing, and that for each individual is what's really real, and everything that it is experiencing and thinking about, and all the stuff of matter itself is in fact not real. But in a sense, it doesn't matter whether it's real or not. The same as in Second Life, it ultimately doesn't matter whether you think Second Life is real or not real. It's the I am consciousness of the people that are using Second Life, and the people that, if you like, are using this reality that we see around us now. It's the user that counts. It's the I am. But that sounds a little bit like the ghost in the machine kind of way. And I know a lot of materialist philosophers don't like that concept of the ghost in the machine. It has been rubbished. And basically, we are just, our brains are just sophisticated computers. And when we die, all that sophistication dies with us, or the computer dies with us, sort of thing. When the heart stops pumping blood around the body and to the brain ceases to function. And that's it. Good night. Well, that may be, or maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know. What I do know is that whilst we are alive, it seems that there could be some kind of sort of I am consciousness. Same with when you dream. I mean, even no matter how lucid your dream, there is still something there that seems to be kind of aware of things. Some I am consciousness, but which is not there when you're drunk, or when you're tripping on some LSD or psilocybin or powerful THC or something, concentrated THC. Then it seems that sometimes the awareness, I am awareness, actually goes as well, but because these chemicals are poisons, of course. But even then, as you're coming down, or even as you're coming up, there's still a vestige of I am. Depending on the dose, and if you microdose, you can still maintain or retain the I am consciousness, even though you're tripping, you're having a hallucinogenic experience. So it is interesting, and it seems to me that perhaps all the things that the moral dimension of this I am consciousness, in other words, how we love and who we hate and how we hate, and all the stuff that goes on Second Life, for example, all the emotionality, all the cognition, all the assumptions, the cultural assumptions that people make about each other. And of course, also you're dealing with users that you don't really know anything about at all, because they could be, making up their biographical material, and you actually might know nothing about them at all. But then you could say, well, what do you really know about somebody that you go out with on the physical level? You don't really. So that there's a mysterious element to people, to this kind of I am, this soul consciousness, if you like, this soul unit of consciousness. And you may not know much about the soul of somebody, or you might know a great deal, depending on how honestly they communicate their soul with you, which some people do on Second Life. They communicate with each other very honestly indeed, and that's great. Other people less so. So what I'm saying is that I'm saying that there's a kind of authentic part of playing this game, which is actually the emotions, the intuition, and even the actions, and the communications. That seems to be sort of real. That seems to be authentic. And then either Second Life or this life is fake and superficial and hollow, but it doesn't really matter. that much, which it is, sort of thing. But I actually wanted to make this video about the quipot, which are the hollow vessels, the shells, and I wanted to sort of equate Second Life to the demonic realms, where everything is a shell, basically, where the supernal light never touches, never penetrates, and there's a sort of darkness, there's this kind of superficiality, this fakeness that goes right to the core of each of the quipot. But on the other hand, I seem to have argued against myself. I seem to have decided that Second Life is not, in fact, a demonic realm at all. It's not the same as the realms of the quipot at all. And indeed, it's more like the realms of the demiurge, of course, which obviously it's been created by man, by human beings, and human beings have been created by the demiurge. So therefore, Second Life is created by the demiurge, but it's not, in fact, actually, strictly speaking, a demonic realm. I mean, the supernal light even penetrates and touches everything on Second Life as well, which is why you can have churches and temples and things on Second Life, and people can lead spiritual lives and meet other people at a spiritual like mind and on a spiritual path, the same as them. And once you got used to your avatar and used to the fact that you are your avatar, then you don't even notice. In fact, it literally becomes an extension of real life. So I started off by sort of kind of thinking maybe Second Life is rather sinister in that sense, rather demonic even. And I've decided that, in fact, it is actually several levels up from the quipot, from the demonic realms, which is good to know. And perhaps if you are on Second Life, you could check out this Temple of the Rosy Cross and experience that temple as you would any other temple in real life. Pretty good, really.